time was 1967, the summer of love, and after a brief hiatus, the Beatles came back with an album that rocked the world. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band lacked the hits of the other albums from the Fab Four, but it topped the charts in the US and UK for the entire summer. 13 strange, finely tuned songs changed the game for pop music and brought the mustache back in one fell swoop. It's an eclectic but somehow seamlessly interwoven album that is still impossible not to sing along to. You may wish we hadn't, but we did, because we were drinking Brandy Alexander's, John Lennon's favorite drink. So pour yourself some brandy, cream, and creme de cacao. It's time for episode 23 of Toasting the Classics, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Toasting the Classics, episode 23.
2-3. The big 2-3.
The big 2-3. I am Clint Lanier.
Dave McArthur.
And today we are going to be examining...
We're revisiting the Summer of Love.
Revisiting the Summer of Love, 1967.
That's right.
I'm on Haight-Ashbury right now.
Uh-huh.
And we are going to be talking about...
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
That's
the
right.
Beatles album.
Beatles.
8th studio album from the Fab Four.
8th studio album.
After they were tired of being Fab and wanted to be hippies.
That's right. After they retired from the road.
Retired from the road, yeah, but
Right.
They also had a big image shift.
Yes.
Which started, I think, a little bit with Revolver, the previous album,
Yep.
but just took
Right.
off with this one. So, and they had a big break.
Yeah.
There's sort of like an intermission in their album career.
They
this
worked
time.
non-stop. I mean,
Yeah.
they were one of the hardest. I don't care what you say about James Brown. They were the hardest working band in the world.
It sounded like this was a hard job.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was a hard. Sounded like everybody was having a good time.
Would you
but
say it
they
was a
just-
hard day's night? Hey-o.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it was
Get
a lot
used
of
to
work.
that. There's going to be a lot of those.
Are there going to be a lot of hey-os? All right.
a lot of
get
bad puns.
All right, I'll get used to it.
So 1967, they release Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It
got you.
I know it did.
I was
It
doing the
trips
outro
you
last
up.
time. I
Yeah.
recorded it 4 times before
Trips you
I
up.
got through it without flubbing.
And it just dropped like some atomic bomb in the music industry.
Apparently, yeah.
And
yeah.
and especially in rock and roll, people had never heard anything like it before.
Mm-hmm.
They got close. I mean, the Beatles say even Paul McCartney.
So Revolver shows a change.
Okay, Revolver
There's a
shows a
change,
change,
but
right.
this is dramatic.
No, this is a shift for them. This is
Yeah,
totally
it's
different.
A big difference, yeah. Musically and aesthetically, and just everything.
In 1966, a year earlier, of all people, because I went kind of deep with this, the Beach Boys,
Right,
of all bands, released Pet Sounds.
right.
Brian Wilson's.
Which I want to
kinda
go
like-
back. Supposedly, it's a huge influence on this record.
It was a huge influence.
So
on
I
Paul
want to go
McCartney,
back
yeah.
and listen to it again with that
Right.
in mind, because I was like, I don't hear
don't
it.
catch
but
that, yeah.
I've listened. That's a good album.
It is.
I have to go back and I don't know it
Well,
like
he
I know
used,
this.
He
I mean,
used
this
a
is-
lot. I mean, he used a lot. It was the recording. I mean, it was a production, right? Because prior to that, for the Beach Boys, and prior to this for the Beatles, everything could be performed.
Right.
You could not perform this album.
Well, they were already having trouble with some of the tracks on Revolver, where they when they did their last tour, they were just like they didn't attempt
Yeah.
to perform anything from
It
Revolver.
was all the old stuff, yeah.
Because some of it you would be able to do, but there's a lot of. I'm trying to think which songs on that album, and I actually went back and listened to it to sort of
Yeah.
remind myself of it. But there's some stuff with some experimental
A lot of production.
backing
Yeah.
and some production and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You could play Taxman. You could just get up there and play your guitar.
Was
but
Paperback
there's-
Writer on that?
That sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah.
So, yeah, but this one was just, and I think they heard, I mean, Brian Wilson just said, we're not going to worry about performing this stuff.
Right.
And it was all huge production.
And Pet Sounds had been inspired by one of the Beatles albums, and now I'm forgetting which one. I think it's actually Rubber Soul.
Yes,
Rubber Soul
yeah,
was
Rubber-
apparently
Rubber
which is
Soul,
one of my
yeah.
favorites of their early stuff. I used to
Rubber
listen
Soul,
to that one
and
over
then
and over again.
Phil Spector's production.
Okay.
What Phil Spector did, the Wall of Sound type of thing that he pioneered,
Right.
and this huge, all the production that goes in behind. So it's not just,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just background music and backup vocals and then lead vocals and stuff like that. It's all this other stuff that goes on.
There's
right?
all kinds of
manipulating
stuff going on. Yeah.
everything about it, right? And so Wilson got into that and did Pet Sounds based on that and some other stuff. So McCartney, I think from what I read, heard Pet Sounds and was like, a concept album.
Uh-huh.
That's a cool idea.
Pet Sounds okay? That's what I'm not remembering. I just remember it being music.
It was an album where you just, I mean, it was experimental, a bit avant-garde,
Right.
In that it was art.
I totally need to go back and listen
Yeah,
to it.
it was art in that it wasn't meant to be played live. And what band? Think about this. 1966. What band didn't want to play live? I mean, that was. You played live. In fact, you came out with singles and really just did your singles all the time, I
don't know what the state of the music industry is today, because I think it's even weirder because, like, the last time I was really sort of aware of the music industry is getting to be a few years back now, like when indie rock was big. And already by that time, live music had taken over as, like, where a band's money came from.
Right.
Because there was so little money coming in, and that's in, like, iTunes and stuff like that. And I'm sure it's even a fraction of that
I think it's like that. I think it's like that
that
today, but the difference is the bands have the capability of playing whatever they do in whatever that.
That's true. There's a lot more equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever audio they cut.
They were like, I think they were talking about Paul McCartney was like experimenting with having a Moog, like to do some electronic stuff, but it was like you couldn't have brought it on stage.
No, not at all.
And then I read this whole, I don't know where I got this book, but I got this whole history of prog rock that I read about a year ago.
Oh, Lord.
And it was just like coming into being just after this, essentially, like right around that time with like Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. And this stuff was, you'd have to go into a studio and use this huge thing. It was kind of like what we think of with the Whopper computer from War Games and stuff like that. That's what you were playing music on for electronic stuff. Into the 70s,
Sure.
I think. I don't think anybody could do live stuff until well into the 70s.
Right.
After the Beatles are broken up already.
Like flash forward to, God, what was it? It must have been like 2001 or something like that. And I saw Moby in concert.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
One guy and a keyboard.
Sure.
And that's it,
Right.
Nine Inch Nails is the same thing. Trent Reznor, it's, him and all these keyboards and
well, he broke up with his
around.
whole band and never even cared.
Yeah,
they just went off and became Filter.
Yeah,
and he could have cared less.
Yeah, he broke up with the members, kept the name and everything.
He kept
else.
the name, kept everything. I heard an interview one time with them. They're getting a little off track, but at least it's music. Heard an interview with Filter one time, and the guy was like, "So, how do you feel having left probably the most influential band of the 21st century?" And he was like, I didn't really want to be in like the Trent Reznor show like all the time. We wanted to have our own band.
Sure.
So I don't really think about it
I can
at all,
see that.
That makes sense. I think
Lennon,
people were kind of
Lennon kind of felt the same way about McCartney.
It sounded like actually Lennon was okay with it. It sounded
For
like
some
George
of it.
Harrison and Ringo were complaining about it being the Paul show in this production.
Yeah.
I think as it went on,
Right.
yes, there's more friction between Lennon and McCartney, but for this one, it sounded, from all the reports, sounded like Lennon was having a good time.
Well, he did.
And was making artistic contributions and stuff like that.
Well, and they all did. I mean, Harrison, he did that whole Indian satire
right.
sound and stuff, and Starr, had a lot of input on the beats, tempos, drums, stuff like that.
When I was growing up, my dad would give me Beatles albums, and he'd be like, just skip the sitar dish. Every time. My friends and I would be like, it's the sitar dish.
With it, without you? You didn't. Yeah. You weren't jamming out to. Was that the name of the song?
Within or Without You. There's one on Revolver.
You.
There's one on Revolver that's heavy sitar, and then I'm not sure what else there is. But just reading about. So speaking of, like I said, about prog rock, reading about what they're talking about with doing the sitar music and all the different things and like that, it makes the Beatles sound so much more virtuosic than I ever was aware of.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, you can listen to this band to this album rather, as, how many songs? Like as 12, 11, 13, like just songs.
Yeah.
Just listen to them.
Right.
But there's all this stuff going on that sounds like the stuff that prog rock people are doing.
Right.
But because they're the Beatles, they still made sure you could listen to it.
Yeah.
You could still tap your foot to it and sing along.
Well, that was a question I was wondering. Like, could they have done that if they weren't the Beatles?
They could have never gotten away with producing this album.
I think what was it, like 450
They would have been. They would have been like a
that
prog
to
rock
produce
band.
it? Yeah.
But this doesn't have any bangers like most Beatles albums do, right? Because they cut Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever. Those are probably the ones that would be the singles.
Right.
Except, well, one of my favorites is A Day in the Life. But that's not something you play on the radio.
Everybody's favorite.
Obviously. Yeah, I mean, that's a terrific song, but it's not radio friendly. None of these really. With a little help from my friends, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but none of these are like
Beatles when I'm 64
hits.
with like an oboe lead.
Yeah, when I'm 64. How much money would Paul McCartney pay today to be 64
To be 64,
again?
I know. I was thinking, when I'm 84.
Right,
no,
yeah. He's looking back to the good old days of being 64.
Right.
But I heard an interview with him recently. He's still sharp.
He is.
Just totally with it, like just talking about the old days. And
musicians usually are.
They're usually bright guys.
There's a great documentary about Glenn Campbell, of all people,
Glenn Campbell's from the Eagles? No, that's
No.
Glenn Fry.
Yeah,
Who's
no,
Glenn Campbell?
He was like a country
the
star.
big-
He did
I'm sorry, yeah.
Rhinestone Cowboy was one of his big
Okay.
hits, and like 70s, 80s, 60s, I think. And he had dementia, and
Oh, really?
and he went real fast. And I think it's called "I'm Still Me" or "It's Still Me" or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like behind the scenes of his decline. And what was weird about it was he was completely, declining. I mean, really losing his memory and everything. But he could remember every single note, and he could pick the guitar like he was 20 years old.
Yeah.
He could get up on stage and do it. He couldn't remember the words to his own songs,
Oh, wow.
but he could remember the music.
Yeah, it's probably the cerebellum, the muscle memory is the last stuff to
they did
go.
like an MRI on him stuff, and,
Yeah.
and they could see like that part of the brain was like much more developed. It was still like
Right.
really reactive. It was firing, and they did a lot of tests and stuff, and a lot of the other places were just dead,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
it's really tragic. It's a
If you
terrible
ever,
disease,
this is gloomy stuff to talk about, but if you ever watch somebody's mind go,
Uh-huh.
it just changes your perspective on what we are.
Yeah, it does.
You
Quite
just
a bit.
realize somebody can be alive and just not be them.
Well, my point is that a musician like Paul McCartney, who's, I mean, the guy, what song was it that he came up with in the middle of the night, and it became this huge hit.
What
But-
you talking about, Paul McCartney on this album?
No, it was another Beatles album. I can't remember which album it was on.
I feel like he sort of came up with
Yesterday,
Hey Jude
no,
altogether.
yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay.
Yesterday, and he came up with the tune, and it was something like "Runny Eggs," like that. He would sing that to himself over and over, so he could remember the tune. And he got on the piano and he was singing that
I've
over
actually
and over
done
and
that.
over.
I've done that before.
And so he got the tune. And that was like middle of the night, and then he just kept working on it, and he hammered out "Yesterday," which is one of the
Right.
most famous songs of all time.
Yeah, it's
right?
a really good song. Yeah.
And so I mean, this guy.
Did you see that movie, by the way?
No.
Yesterday?
No.
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
Is it?
It's weird. It's a weird concept. It's one of those things where you're like, why didn't somebody think of that before?
Right.
That's a really simple conceit for a movie.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. And it's executed at like a
Pretty well.
stable level.
I like the guy that
it's pretty
stars in it.
enjoyable. Yeah, the guy in it's pretty good. I'm trying to think what else I know him from, but he's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was good. I liked it. It was fun. It
But
was weird.
I mean, that's what musicians do. They just live it and breathe it, and they dream it, and they they live with it all the time. Although I remember I watched Willie Nelson
Really?
like 2 years ago on stage, and I can't remember what song he was doing, but he's kind of in the middle of it, and he's doing the same thing. He's playing the guitar, and he's like,
Forgot the words.
I can't remember the words of my damn song, and everybody just laughed and
Sure.
and cheered, and then he just went on to another song, But a guy like that, again, he's had a 60-year career.
I mean, he's smoked so much pot. if pot does any damage to your brain,
Right.
Willie Nelson's had that damage. Are we at the time where we should probably pop a drink?
We're good. Yeah, we're kind of in between the
Are we in
times.
between? Okay,
Yeah.
well, we can wait. We can wait.
No. Let's do that now.
All right. What are we doing?
So we are doing John Lennon's favorite drink.
John Lennon's favorite drink.
That's
All right.
Which is a Brandy Alexander.
A Brandy Alexander. Okay. And what is in a Brandy Alexander?
So Brandy Alexander is equal, 1 part brandy.
Okay.
It's supposed to be cognac, and I love you, but I don't love you enough for cognac.
I have some cognac. I could have brought cognac for you.
This has ice in it. I'm sorry.
What do you mean? You're not willing to spend the money on the cognac for me, or you mean it would be romantic to drink it together? What's your concern?
Be a bit of both.
Bit
So I
of
got two
both, okay.
drinks each, but
All right.
and
Two
then
drinks each. Okay. I'll pace myself accordingly.
1 part creme de cacao,
Creme de cacao.
which is dark chocolate liqueur,
Obrigado.
and then 1 part cream. So there we go.
Say that again. That was interesting.
So 1 part cream, 1
Okay.
part creme de cacao, and 1 part brandy.
Oh, so you add cream along. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And what is in creme de cacao?
It's a liqueur. Well, you could either do a liqueur or a kind of like a chocolate syrup.
Huh,
Either one.
okay.
I think traditionally
Does
it's
that go into a White Russian?
yes, I believe so.
Okay, so similar.
Or is it Kahlua that goes into
I
White
guess
Russian?
it might be Kahlua.
Yeah, I think
Might
so.
be Kahlua.
But you've got Kahlua's coffee. You've got Irish whiskey, which is chocolate, whiskey, and cream.
Okay.
Creme de cacao is just a liqueur and with chocolate, I believe. So
Okay.
cheers.
All right. Cheers.
See what you think.
Irish whiskey, you mean Bailey's?
Yeah, or something.
Yeah. Smells good. Smells like a White Russian, kind of. This is not what I thought a Brandy Alexander was at all, but this is a quite tasty drink. I
Yeah,
highly recommend this.
John Lennon was introduced to him and said they taste like milkshakes to him. So
They do taste like a
He
milkshake.
would drink the hell out of them.
Tastes like a grown-up milkshake.
It does taste like a
Tastes
grown-up
like the
milkshake.
$5 milkshake from Pulp Fiction. They don't put no bourbon in that?
Right? Yeah, they could get pretty addictive, huh?
Yeah. I could see why the dude, likes something with this kind of palate to it.
What's interesting is it actually was just called an Alexander.
Uh-huh.
It was made with gin versus brandy once upon a
That
time.
sounds gross.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Sounds like a very gross mixture with what
I
we're
can't
drinking.
nail down an origin story. Closest I've come is there was a bartender in, I believe, New York City,
Okay.
Alexander something or other, and he was asked to be the bartender or come up with a drink for a party for a railroad, okay? The railroad, this is like in the early 1900s, and the railroad had just done this huge advertising campaign with a fictional advertising maven,
Okay.
that they featured, and her name was Phoebe Snow, okay?
Okay.
Because in early, 20th century railroad, late 19th century railroad, what did they use for fuel mainly?
Coal.
Right. Have you ever ridden on a
God,
coal?
I got that right. That seemed like a really obvious question.
Have you
I was
ever
like,
ridden on a coal train before?
I didn't do the one up in Durango.
Okay.
That's the one I'm thinking
that's-
of.
that's still
yes,
coal,
I
yeah.
have been on a coal train.
Okay.
There was a museum of trains in the little town where my grandparents lived.
Okay.
And we went one time and we rode the little train around.
What do you remember about the exhaust from that train?
It was bad.
It's terrible.
I
Yeah.
don't think they were burning coal
The
at this
one up
place.
in-
I think they used wood.
The one up
actually.
in Durango uses coal.
Okay.
And it gets all over everything. They have open windows in this
Ugh,
train, and
yeah.
it just gets all over you. So that was the big problem, was train travel was filthy. Even if you had closed windows and closed cabs, it was still pretty gross.
Huh.
This railroad started using anthracite, and it wouldn't give off that same soot.
Anthracite is the highest grade of coal,
Right,
right? There's
something like that.
anthracite, lignite, and something else.
Yeah. And so the campaign was Phoebe Snow would get off the train still Snow White, right?
I see.
So he was supposed to come up with a light-colored drink that would resemble. Now, this is not very light-colored. Would you agree? This is like a tan, something like that.
This is what you'd
So-
expect from this
but
kind of
I'm
concoction.
wondering if the gin maybe rather than the brandy would.
I was going to say
Make it-
the brandy would have
make it
to
kinda
impart
white,
a certain
right?
brownish
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
So anyway, that's
Especially equal parts brandy. It's not like it's a splash of brandy.
Right.
So it's actually giving it some color.
Now, I don't know if
what sort of brandy did you use?
I use Mexican brandy,
Mexican
El
brandy.
Presidente,
Huh.
which is actually really good brandy.
Brandy. Eres una fina chica.
Good stuff, man. My father-in-law drinks it. It's good enough for
And
him.
what is it called?
El Presidente.
Presidente.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's our drink.
Cool.
John Lennon, that's
Cool.
to you. And he probably, I don't know if he was drinking these or if he was dropping something else, or maybe he was dropping something
there was
in his
a
drinks.
lot of drugs going on
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
the composition of this album. I don't think it was getting in the way
Mm-hmm.
of their work, but it sounded like there was a lot of. I mean, they were doing long studio hours.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were doing, let's say, heroin. They were doing something that was keeping them going
Right.
day in and day out.
Yeah.
Because the process of making the album, and I mean, it just went on and on and on,
Yeah.
to the point where everybody was like, oh, the Beatles used to be so prolific, right? Because they would put on the liner notes for some of their early albums. I remember reading, it's on, I don't know, With the Beatles or something. It's one of the early ones. And it said, John and Paul have already written enough music to release albums every 6 months for the next 12 years. And it was something they bragged about, how
Right.
much they wrote. And so people were like, oh, they finally run out of gas.
Yeah.
And there was a quote from Paul McCartney saying, just wait till you see this. Because they were putting in so much work on this album.
Yeah,
making
they're
sure
they're
every
like
single
14
track
hours
was-
a day for weeks at a time.
And I think it's kind of like, do you remember how long Guns N' Roses were talking about releasing Chinese Democracy?
yeah.
It was
Forever.
I think User Illusion is 92, 93, and they were talking about another album, and it took 20 years, and it was not any good when it finally came out.
Right. Yeah.
I think people thought that's what was happening.
Bit of
The
a
Beatles were
tragedy.
just done.
Right.
They couldn't work together anymore, and it just was totally not
Sure,
true. Because
sure.
the next couple of albums after this are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got this one's really good. You've got the White Album. You've got
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road. You've got Let It Be. There's a whole bunch of good stuff, and that's only 3 years until they broke up.
Right.
Because this is 67, May of 67, and they were broken up by mid 70,
70,
right?
yeah.
So in 3 years, they put out another 4 albums, all
Right.
of them. I think there's another one, Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah. Magical
So there's a
Mystery.
whole bunch of stuff that came out after that.
Well,
I was-
plus they did Yellow Submarine.
Yellow
think
Submarine.
after this, or was it
no,
before
Yellow
that?
Submarine is actually on Revolver, the song.
Oh, is it? Okay.
There's the
All right.
film Yellow Submarine.
But they did 4 songs for that film, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. And apparently that was, I don't know if it was Yellow Submarine, but Paul was working in movies during the hiatus they had between the making of this album and Revolver. Yeah, he was like doing scores and stuff because he was just not stopping working.
Well, I know the movie had like Nowhere Man, Yellow Submarine.
Okay. I've never seen it. I've never seen Yellow Submarine. I saw Help, and I really liked
Come
Help.
Together. Isn't that, is that song? Is
it? Because that's on Let It Be. That's in
that movie, I think.
Huh. Oh no, that's not on Let It Be. That's on Abbey Road.
And then I can't remember what the 4th one was, but there's like 4 of them that they wrote for the movie. In any case,
the track listings used to be completely different for Britain, for England, and the United States. And I remember my dad showing me, because I got them on CD, and he'd look at them and he'd be like, well, "This is all." And it took him a little bit to realize the CDs were the British track listings. Right. So the ones that he knew from growing up were the Americans, and it was just completely different. Like, and this was the first album where there was no change.
Yeah, no change at all.
This one, the British and the American version were exactly the same.
This stayed number 1 in the British pop charts for 27 weeks.
Okay.
Number 1 in the American.
How does that compare? I was wondering. I saw the statistics and I wasn't sure how that compares to other.
Well, I don't know. Number 1 in America for 15 weeks.
Okay.
The top Billboard hits.
Right.
So I mean, it had staying power. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And what was funny is the singles. The highest the singles got, I think, were like number 4 or number 2 or something like that.
That's what I mean about this album. Yeah, this is not a big single album. Yeah. Except Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields.
Well, those are the only 2 that were released. Those were released as singles.
Right.
And then they were cut from this original, the original album. On my version has all of them. It included both of those.
Oh, really?
But
where'd you get your version?
Well, it's a remix. It's like 2017 remastered.
Okay, I've got the CD that I bought. I went through a big Beatles phase in high school, and I just bought them all the ones. Except that, so it says this is the 8th album, and I was like, I couldn't get there. I was like trying to count it up, and when I looked at the listing of things they're counting for the studio albums, it's stuff that you don't
think of.
I mean, it's like I don't like Beatles for Sale all that much.
Yeah.
With the Beatles, but there were a couple other ones. It was like Beatles number 5. It was like an album of theirs, and so there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't think of as being like canonical Beatles albums that they're counting. So they must get to like, I don't know, 13 or 14 albums by that counting.
So I'm looking at the album cover, very, very famous album cover.
Absolutely, yeah.
You've got the Beatles dressed as an Edwardian band,
which is
Dayglow
I'm thinking that means
King Edward.
But which one? Edward the 7th? Edward the what's Edwardian? I was having trouble with that. I was trying to figure that out because it would have been right before Elizabeth was Edward the 8th, the one who abdicated.
Yeah.
Then there's George during World War II. It must be between the world wars, I think, is what they're talking about.
I guess so. It's something that they are.
I think it's Edward the 7th.
It's something they're satirizing. So it's something that would be within.
It would have to be something within their lifetime.
Right,
They're not like talking about Edward the First Longshanks that conquered Scotland.
Right, exactly.
You know?
And so it looks like you would think that like today we would say it was photoshopped, right? Because there's all these other characters around them. Those are actually cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
So this is all posed.
So this is actually a photograph.
This is actually a photograph.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it's all posed. Now, you notice that the Beatles are standing next to him right here and looking all kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like the old
they
mod,
look creepy.
the old mod squad.
Yeah.
Those are from Madame Tussauds. Those are their wax Beatles.
It shows.
You've got, let's see, what else have we got?
It looks like older versions of them there.
Yeah, right. You've got Karl Marx. You've got W.C. Fields, Marilyn Monroe.
Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
Who I wouldn't have recognized. I read a list of some of the people. I was like, that's a boxer. I know that.
Yeah, Sonny Liston, that's right. They have Edgar Allan Poe at the very top there. And you know who's missing from here?
No.
Elvis.
Oh, yeah, right. They said they didn't need him there. He was too important.
Yeah, Elvis was elevated. He was too far above everybody, which is really funny because if you ever read the account of when they actually meet Elvis, he was kind of a complete jerk.
Oh, was
to
he?
him? Yeah, it's a complete
that's
TV.
too bad.
Like they're like sitting there and they're like, oh my God, we're in Elvis's house. And
see, to me, I see Bob Dylan here.
Yeah, Bob Dylan's
and I'm
in
like,
there.
You're telling me Elvis is above Bob Dylan?
That's what they thought.
I mean, at that time, that's probably true.
Well,
but
that's
now,
where
in hindsight, Bob Dylan.
1956 is when all of them.
I see
got
Oscar
into
Wilde
it.
there.
So they, like I said, they all got into it. 1956. Now, you know what? One thing that depresses me about
What's
this.
that?
Paul McCartney was 27 years old when he put that out. Brian Wilson the year before was 25 years old.
Right.
What were you doing at 25 and 27? Because I was a complete idiot. I had I had very few plans.
What year was I 25? It would have been 2002, 2003. 2002, I remodeled my dad's basement.
Sweet. Because you were living there?
What's that?
Because you were living there?
No. I wasn't living there. I lived in my mom's house.
Okay.
But I remodeled my dad's basement with my buddies, and we had a ton of fun doing it. Mm-hmm. That was like what we did that summer. Then I moved to Austin, Texas with a girl and came back like 2 months later because that wasn't working. But before I came back, I did this road trip all across the western United States. Mm-hmm. Then I went to law school, like when I got back. So it was a pretty good year, actually.
But what I'm saying is you didn't produce a world-changing album at 25 years old.
But I'm still alive.
That's a good point.
I lived. But how? He must have been not quite 40, right?
Who?
When Lennon died? Oh, you're talking about McCartney.
Yeah.
McCartney's good. He's still alive. He kept working.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's had a great life.
All I'm saying is that
he's one of the few
you look at some
people.
of these you look at some of these guys that are just over the top, brilliant, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And they I don't know if they peaked, but they certainly made an impact at such an early age.
Such a young age.
Yeah, Buddy Holly was like 17, wasn't he? Something like that, or 18.
I don't know
maybe?
if he was that. I know Richie Valens was young.
Yeah, Richie Valens. I think in '56, Elvis was like 18 or 19 in '56 when he recorded Hound Dog.
Well, I think so. There's a conversation out there a lot of people like to have. What do you like better, Rolling Stones or Beatles? And
Beatles,
I have always just liked the Beatles better. Mm-hmm. I like the Rolling Stones. I don't think it's an either-or thing, by the way. I do like the Rolling Stones, but the Beatles are just so raw and untutored, and I think it's the opposite perception of the two bands. I think most people would think, because the Rolling Stones are kind of like proto-punk rock, right? The way they act and stuff like that.
Sure.
Whereas I think they were like almost like a boy band.
Yeah.
They were like guys who actually had training in music and were brought together, because somebody thought they'd make a good band.
Right.
Whereas the Beatles were like, you're saying, Paul McCartney like sprung forth like fully formed as really like a musical genius in this kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're playing, was it Dresden? Where were they playing?
All over Germany.
Hamburg or
lots
something
of places
like that.
in Germany, I think.
I think when they're like 16 or 17.
I think they were super young,
They were playing, like 12-hour days, just jamming for 12 hours at a time.
They were hard working.
At strip bars.
Oh, is that right?
In Germany, of all places. And then came back to Liverpool.
If you had a time machine.
God, man, can you imagine?
Go back and see the Beatles in like 61 somewhere in Germany.
Well, there's did you ever read that book by Malcolm Gladwell? It's called Outliers.
Yeah, the one where you need 10,000 hours of.
Well, that's what he attributes. He talks about
exactly.
the Beatles and they had 10,000 hours of playing live.
Yeah.
Before they had their first album.
And they knew what worked.
Yeah.
But I also think just McCartney, and I think it's McCartney. Again, another conversation you can have with people. Who's your favorite Beatle? I think most people go around wearing T-shirts of John Lennon because John Lennon's got this persona to him, But showing the body of work after they left the Beatles, and it's like you talk about Wings or something, and it sounds dorky to say Wings was good, but you listen to those songs, and that's carrying through from the Beatles. The way he creates the music, and something like Band on the Run, which has 4 different pop hits in the course of the song as he transitions, but he's just dumps out another amazing melody that he came up with. You could hear it's Paul. It's definitely Paul. That's the soul of what made the band. Two things
as
good as they were.
Two things make your argument really difficult to prove. One is called.
It's unprovable, but yeah.
One is called assassination, or the murder.
True, but
the other one is
10 years.
The other
most of McCartney's great work is in the 70s.
The other one is Yoko Ono, who I think was a complete just anchor around his neck.
Yeah.
There's a great clip you should go out and watch on YouTube when John Lennon meets Chuck Berry for the first time. Okay. And it's like a show. It was like a variety show or something. And he's there. He's with Yoko Ono. So I can't remember when in the 70s. But Chuck Berry was one of his heroes, guitar player.
It would have to have been, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he idolized Little Richard. He idolized all those guys in the 50s, and including Chuck Berry. And so he gets to jam out with them for the first time. So they're like, hey, do you want to jam out? Like, you got it, man. And so they're up there on stage, and they're jamming out. And then Yoko Ono finds her way to a microphone.
Oh,
and it's like
terrible singer.
yeah.
If you so,
But hold on. There's a look that Chuck Berry gives. He like looks over his shoulder. He's like, "What?"
Wow. Yeah.
And then they jam again, and she tries pulling that again, and they cut her mic. So you see her in the background
she's
going,
awful. She's a terrible singer. If you on the White Album, there's a song Bungalow Bill, and the Beatles used to record their stuff in stereo. You know, like so you could turn off one track.
Yeah.
It's hard. You can't do it on the CDs, but if you figure out a way to turn off like one of the speakers,
sure.
you can hear Yoko Ono singing backups on Bungalow Bill just by herself because she's the only one on the right speaker. Or I don't know which one, and it's just like
she's terrible.
In case of accident.
It's like, oh my God, like stop.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she got herself into the studio.
She single-handedly wrecked. You know,
There's
the Beatles, John Lennon.
There is a long, feeling. A lot of people have been saying that for years and years. I don't know enough about the relationship between everybody. Did you know that Paul was a big Naughty by Nature fan?
No, I didn't.
Way before, some sort of time travel. If you look at his coat here, in the liner notes, when he's got this Edwardian military coat on, where's one where he's facing towards me?
When everybody's
it says,
smiling.
On this patch, OPP. You see that? Which is scandalous
Do you know what that stands for?
I do actually know what it stands for.
So what does it stand for?
It stands for the Ontario Provincial Police.
There you go.
You're ruining it.
That was a terrible. Well, because it was terrible. That was so much worse than anything I've.
20 years ahead of time, 25 years ahead of time, he was already down with the OPP. So.
God, well, he was anyway. But I think
either that or Naughty by Nature was actually doing a Blue Lives Matter song for the Canadian police forces.
Perhaps.
So
that would blow minds.
That would be.
I think that would probably be the bigger earthquake
surprising.
of the two.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite song on the album? Would it be?
That's A Day in the Life. Day in the Life's the best track on the album. But without getting, I think that's kind of trite to say that because it really is just pretty dominant. I think they're all just fun. I let these lovely Rita, like all of them, that just kind of bounce along. Within or Without You brings it down a little. But I think that there's
actually the one that brings it down is She's Gone Away.
But that's a good song.
It's a good song, but God, it's just a downer.
But it's kind of like, I think that they do this, and I think somebody told them at some point that they were really good, and it might have actually been after this, but they write their songs, and I don't actually think there's much of a concept running through this album. I think the idea of a concept album is a little...
It stretches.
It's not like The Who or something like that, you know? So somebody told them that the way they write is like the way musicals are done. You know, it's just like one melody, and they're all kind of like a little story, and they're just they all stand independently, and they shift styles and things like that. And the medley at the end of Abbey Road is like one of my favorite things to listen to. I just play that over and over again because I think the songs are better in that medley. But that's kind of the same thing that's going on here. And obviously, White Album kind of feels that way. The first disc, the second one is frankly a little too experimental for me. I don't really listen to the second half of the White Album very often. Yeah, I think they just sound like She's Leaving Home just sounds like some part of a musical. It's just like some story out of nowhere.
Yeah, maybe.
In there. Getting Better is good. Do you remember the Magnavox commercials?
Yeah.
That would play that.
Better
and they'd say,
you
know, it's getting better all the time.
Yeah.
But they would stop right before John Lennon comes in going,
can't get no worse. Yeah.
You know, I would always think that. I'm like,
and they never include the part where I used to beat my woman.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they left that part
he's
out.
like, I used to be mean to my woman. I
woman.
used to beat her and keep her from things that she loves or whatever holds dear or something.
Man, it was mean. We're just going to sing, by the way, for the rest of
I'm changing my scene.
Doing the best. See what I mean? Like you can't stop singing them. That's how. That's how the.
There are funny little lines
are.
in there, like when I'm 64, when he says, "We'll get a place on the Isle of Wight
if it's not too
if it's not too dear, which means it's not too expensive."
Right. Yes. That's a translation from the British.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you? So this was a candidate for biggest surprise. I didn't go with it, but I thought my whole life that the Summer of Love was 1969. I thought it was a dirty joke, and I thought everybody just thought it was hilarious that it was the year 1969. When I saw this, I was like, wait.
So you thought Bryan Adams was singing about it this whole time?
I totally thought Bryan Adams was talking about it. Well, but I thought that was the Summer of Love.
Right.
I had no idea that it was 67, so that really did surprise me.
That was a busy decade because he had the Summer of Love, and then he had the long hot summer the following year.
When's Woodstock? Is Woodstock 67?
69. See, that was 69.
See, that's what I thought was the Summer of Love. Okay,
so 68, you had the riots.
I need to be hit again with a Brandy Alexander.
So 69, you had 68, you had the riots like Chicago and
after Martin Luther King got shot.
Right. So that was a long hot summer, and then
my dad talked about that. That was a big deal in D.C. because they still lived in the
Imagine
city
so.
at that time, and my granddad was a cop, and that was a. So you want to hear? So you didn't like the OPP joke. You want to hear another one?
Okay.
This is kind of just an observation I made. So I went to Wendy's one day,
Okay.
and it's big poster on the wall outside of Wendy's.
Okay.
Strawberry Fields, like it was a salad they had, and it said Strawberry Fields, and underneath it said limited time only. Like,
That is a good joke.
I took a picture of it, I put
Yeah.
it on Facebook, and like nobody laughed.
Nobody
I was
got
like,
it?
What come on. They just didn't look at it. But
It's just things change.
Yeah.
It's not forever anymore.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's inflation.
Yeah, right. Limited
So
time.
did you
yeah,
look up what
exactly.
Strawberry Fields was?
No.
So Strawberry Fields was a Salvation Army children's home
Okay.
near where Lennon grew up, where John Lennon grew
okay.
up, and he used to play in their like their woods and their fields.
Okay.
You know, in the gardens basically.
Yeah, supposedly there's a lot about their childhood in this,
Yeah.
this album.
Yeah, and so that's what Strawberry Fields was, and so it was a place where he'd go as a kid, and he grew up really poor, really kind of a terrible situation. His dad split when he was a baby, and just kind of left the family. I think he rarely saw him.
Okay.
If I remember correctly,
We
he was
did
like,
see him, though.
well, I think he was like a performer on like cruise ships or something weird like that, if I remember correctly.
Kind of sounds like
Yeah.
a good gig. I don't know. I don't know if I like that.
I mean, but you know, his kids never saw him, and he never. I mean, they grew up really
Again,
poor.
it kind of sounds like it would be a good gig.
yeah,
no.
well, yeah, I got you.
I love my children. Hi, children.
Oh, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So we could have an argument about Puff the Magic Dragon, right?
Okay.
We
Can
could be
we?
like, some people could say it's
Some
just a
people
story
say
about
it.
a dragon and a little
Right.
boy, you know. But
Right.
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I don't see another take there. Those three words don't come together.
Well, you know what he said.
I know, but that's BS. Like,
So he said what?
he said there's just a drawing that his kid did, and
yeah,
I'm like,
and he asked, "What is the drawing?" It's it's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
come on,
Right.
come on, man. Paul was doing so much acid during the creation of this album. I don't buy it. I think it's obviously a
Yeah.
drug reference. It's the
Why
most,
would they deny it though? Because I mean, they
other
admitted
than
it's-
Mother's Little Helper. It's probably that's an anti-drug message, I guess.
I think that's just an observational.
No, because she dies at the end of it. So I
No,
think
he
it's
says if you
supposed
take any more, you or if you have an overdose, you can't take any more. That's what he says. He doesn't say that she does.
yeah, they say if yeah.
Then he says she took 4 more, but he doesn't say that she OD'd. I think it's more of an observation of the time.
What drug is that?
Barbiturates, I think.
Barbiturates is
Yeah.
what I was thinking. Yeah, okay.
Have you ever
All
seen
right.
If you ever seen Mad Men?
Sure,
And that's
sure.
what his wife does. Like she's taking uppers and downers, and everybody's taking uppers and downers in the '60s. I think, like I said, it was just more of an observational thing from the
Yeah.
Rolling Stones. But
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's not an anti-drug, but you could spin it that way.
I think that's the last band to do an anti-drug
An anti-drug message. Yeah.
message.
Yeah. Did you know it was the first pop album that didn't have like the gaps? You know how like
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
they'd like
They
play
just go
out,
one
play
after
the
the
song
other.
quiet,
Right.
and then the next one starts.
Right.
It's the first album not to do that, which sounds to me, you know, like it's just there's lots of albums that do that. Not a big deal, but that's kind of huge. That,
Yeah, well,
that
it was-
alone,
it was the
as
first one, right.
As an innovation, is kind
Well,
of.
I went from there. I went to Pink Floyd, like The Wall, which is all connected, right? It's just one after the other.
Yeah.
One runs in. They're all.
What's the
one
time
good
difference
song.
between those?
Gosh, The Wall had to have been late '60s, early '70s, 71, 72,
Okay, so
maybe.
not too far off.
I don't think so, but I think this was their concept. I mean, they showed that you can do this. Probably, I'm sure Waters and all the rest of them got it from them. You know.
Yep.
You mentioned the Who. I mean, Tommy. You know, where it's a story. I'm a total
Yeah, but
concept.
it actually is a story.
But
yeah.
but it started. This was a concept. Sgt. Pepper was a concept, and actually the Magical Mystery Tour was supposed to be a concept as well. He had McCartney wanted them to get like an old bus and get like it all hippified
and actually drive
and actually
around.
do a Magical Mystery Tour. And the rest of the Beatles were like, "No, we're not doing we're not doing that."
You know, that's one of the things. So, what do you prefer? If you had to pick between the two, would you pick early or late Beatles? Let's say you have to use Revolver as the middle ground, and you're like, what do I get to keep? Everything up to Revolver or
when I think
everything
of-
from Sgt. Pepper?
The problem
on?
is with the early, you've got the early silly, you know.
Sure.
I wanna hold your hand. I like all that stuff.
That's a banger. That's a banger.
They're fun
you know?
songs,
Yeah,
but they're just so bubble pop.
That's
you know,
true.
Bubble
It's
gum
true.
pop.
It's
You
true.
know, all the little girls, you know, getting happy and fainting and stuff like that. But then they do transition slowly to more sophisticated songs.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Until by the end, and that's the thing.
Although I
about,
have to say, you know what? I'm going to push back a little on
Okay.
that because I can play I Want to Hold Your Hand for my 5-year-old
yeah,
in 2021, and she's right away.
Well, that's a good point.
That's
though.
a musical sophistication in a way, right? It's like to be able to reach across the decades and still hit a kid right away the first time they hear it.
I think
it wasn't before that.
I think that should.
It was a new kind of music.
But I think that should strengthen my argument because you can also sing, I'm a gummy bear, to your 5-year-old, and
that's true. That's true.
She would like that.
But there's a combination of a simplicity and also like it's lasting.
Well, it has a good melody. It has a good tune. I mean, I'm not denying that.
But it was also at the time.
I'm just saying that it.
At the time, super innovative, right? Like nobody had heard anything like that, like quite like that in 1962 or whatever it was.
With the Beatles, it was a combination of things. It was their look. Nobody had ever looked like that because they had mop tops. They were like cutting edge. We don't think of their early Beatles.
Those haircuts are actually revolutionary.
Yeah, we don't think of them.
They seem like the conservative version of the Beatles.
Exactly.
Right?
But my mom always tells me about her dad saying, like in 1958 or 60 or whenever they came out, going, look at those, look at that, the hair. You need to cut that hair, blah blah blah. Because the alternative was Johnny Cash.
Sure. Yeah. Everybody. Yeah. So they were. There's a bit where they're talking about how when the album came out. And people saw them again after not seeing them for some time, and they had beards and mustaches and long hair. Yeah. And everybody was just like shocked. I went to a party this weekend with some people I hadn't seen since like before COVID. And like I walked out and I have a beard and like a mustache and like long hair. And then people were just kind of like did like a double take at me. And I was like, I'm like John Lennon, like emerging from his cave.
Were you barefoot?
I was wearing sandals. Actually, we were at the pool. I might have been barefoot. I don't remember, but it's possible.
Don't they, Abbey Road, they're like really like long hair.
Oh yeah.
This one isn't bad. I mean,
this is just kind of basic. You know what? Honestly, I'm looking at him again. They didn't even really have long hair. It's just the mustache.
Yeah, it's a mustache. It's facial hair, I guess. Sideburns.
Nobody has a beard.
Sideburns, right?
They've got sideburns that, in Ringo's case at least, kind of border on being mutton chops.
Yeah, maybe.
Those are pretty serious sideburns. Those are sideburns I can't do. I don't know about you as a blonde man, but I cannot grow Ringo's mutton chops like that.
I think Ringo's a particularly hairy person. He just kind of looks like he has a really hairy back.
Could be.
Among other things.
He's got one of the great schnozzes in music history, that's for sure.
That was a surprise for me. I didn't realize that it was him. That's
my big surprise. You're ruining my big surprise.
I'm sorry.
All right, fine. I'll do it now since you're making me do it.
Well, we're 45 minutes.
But my biggest surprise of the album, and this is it's hard to come up with because I've heard the album 100 times. But I was reading about the album, and I couldn't believe it's Ringo singing with a little help from my friends. I never gave it much thought. It sounds like Ringo. Yeah. I could hear it, but
you just never thought of it.
That shocked me. I was like,
he's not a singer.
I mean, that's the first guy that sings on the album is Ringo.
Yeah.
They open up the album. It's just there's the Billy. There's a little bit of that.
Well, there's Paul. It was 20 years ago today. Sgt. Pepper.
That's true.
And then Lennon after that sings. It's such a lovely audience.
Right. Yeah.
And then Billy Shears, and then
it's what would you do? And it sounds like Ringo.
It sounds like him after you figure out that it's him.
Absolutely.
Before that, it's just a Beatle.
That's my biggest surprise of
That's a good surprise, though, because that was going to be my biggest surprise.
Oh, I took it.
No. Until I found another biggest surprise.
All right. Well, I guess we're doing it now. So what was it?
Well, I looked up a line from Penny Lane, and I'm going to count Penny Lane as part of. It's one of the choruses. Penny Lane is in my ears and my eyes. For a fish and finger pies in summer. Meanwhile back.
Right.
Okay.
We're going to cut that, by the way.
Okay. Yes. So, dear listener, I am not going to tell you what that means. I want you to go Google it yourself. But it was shocking.
Oh.
It's slang for a sexual act. What could a finger pie?
I don't think we need to get into this any more than we already have.
All right.
Okay.
So anyway,
suffice it to say,
that was my biggest surprise. I was like, and I was thinking like, and that was the only thing the only lyric I looked up because I was like, I wonder what that means.
Yeah. Well, if you tried to look up the lyrics to like "I Am the Walrus," I think you'd lose your mind. Like,
right.
It's a Crabble-like fishwife, pornographic priest. What are you even talking about?
Right.
I don't. It's kind of like "Smells Like Teen Spirit." I don't think it does mean anything.
Yeah, maybe not. I think Teen Spirit means something. But in any case. That was my biggest surprise.
You do? You think there's meaning to that song?
Smells Like Teen Spirit?
Yeah.
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
All right.
And we can get into that maybe.
What about Yellow Ledbetter? Remember Yellow Ledbetter, the Pearl Jam song? I don't even think there was words to that. I think it's just
I don't think that's
mumbling.
what it is either.
I think that's just nonsense.
I think
there's a lot of singing on this album.
We got to keep this in.
All right, we'll see.
All right.
We'll see. This album. I just referred to it as an album now.
Yeah.
Apparently we're changing media.
Well, we are we're Apple iTunes, we're on Spotify.
We're on Audible now. Did you know we're on Audible?
Yeah, I saw that.
Karina, my wife is listening to the podcast now because she has Audible.
Fantastic.
Apparently supporting her husband in his artistic endeavors and creative scholarship.
Works as long as it's on
Works
Audible.
as long as she doesn't have to download an app she doesn't already have.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so now
Good
she's
for her.
listening on.
Anyway, so that was my biggest surprise.
Okay,
were the
that's a
lyrics.
good one.
And actually, I after that, I was
Like what?
what?
The unspeakably dirty lyrics
Yes.
to Penny Lane. All right. I mean, it's such a
we Americans,
sweet little song.
We Americans have no idea about, but I was
Right.
like, what else did they hide in there? You know, that's actually what it got me thinking. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life, which I'm sure there are people out there that are scholars in Beatles lyrics.
You heard about
right?
the whole "Paul is dead."
Yeah.
thing. I mean, there were people that dedicated,
Yeah.
tons of their time.
But
one of my friends' dads wrote like a thesis in university, like
Right.
about the Paul is dead, like the whole
A
conspiracy.
thesis in university?
Yeah.
Are you turning English? Just because of
Oh
the
yeah,
sound?
maybe. I didn't mean to.
Actually, that was the
He
other
was
thing
up
I
at
was-
uni.
That's the other thing I was going to mention.
That's what all my Australian family calls it. They say they're going to uni.
The Beatles are, I think, the only band in the entire world from England that sounds English when they sing.
They do.
They do.
They do.
What would you do if I sang attitude?
Well, they have those.
Right?
They have those northern accents.
Yeah, Liverpool
you know?
accents. But I mean, you get like the Rolling Stones are like,
I said, "Hey,
how are you doing tonight, Las Vegas? I can't get no."
Yeah, they definitely.
You
Yeah.
know?
Have you ever seen the movie The Commitments?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Where they're like, it's not Roy, Sally,
Yeah,
Roy.
It's ride, Sally, ride.
ride.
Yeah, I like that.
Like that. So I think a lot of people learn to sing in the,
Right.
the
But
vernacular.
the Beatles, if you just listen to them and as they sing, they
I
sound
remember my
British.
grandmother. So I was riding in the car with my grandmother one time.
You're roiding?
I was riding in the car. No,
Right.
so you're messing me up. I can't talk.
Sorry.
I was riding in the car with my grandmother, and they played this song, "Back in the High Life" by Steve Winwood, which is like, I always kind of like that song, but it's not a particularly hard or cool song or anything.
Right.
And my grandmother, just out of nowhere, she's like, "I just can't stand it when they sing like they're black."
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, "What is black about Steve Winwood? He's
Right.
Australian."
Right.
It's like, I think he's
Yeah.
Australian, but it's just like, what are you talking about?
What would
But
she say to Christopher
me,
Cross?
But I think it's to me. I think there is a certain extent to which people were imitating the sounds of African Americans in early rock and roll. And so it carried on through rock to the point where I'm so used to it, I can't even hear it, that of course you say ride in a rock song.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Maybe.
say, even
Maybe
pronounce
so,
it the way
yeah.
I pronounce it,
Maybe so.
in regular speech. But I can't even hear it anymore because it's just,
Yeah.
this is the music that I've always been around. But my grandmother, born in 1920,
Yeah.
heard the transition and was like,
Yeah, that's a really
and
good
also
point.
and also was enough of a mean person
they're-
to be
yeah.
offended by it.
I mean, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, those guys are
Yeah, those are the people
everybody.
that started it.
Yeah, they
those are the people that
influenced
started it.
everybody.
Now,
But,
there's been a whole bunch of musical scholarship that says that the actual roots of the music are definitely within country and like Western, and not,
I think
not Western.
they're
but
all over. I think.
the sort of Appalachian,
Yeah, like Scottish,
sounds is
yeah.
what gave birth to rock and roll. But the first performers who really did it and made it
Right.
what it is were definitely African.
Well, there's also I think there's also like slave music.
I think well, it's kind of like the R&B roots.
chain gang
Yeah.
music, stuff like that. That Black Betty, go. You should. That song that whoa, Black Betty.
Bam. Yeah, there's a lot of great memes about that.
Go. Yeah, there is. That's actually a chain gang song.
Really?
Yeah, in the 20s and 30s. It sounds totally different. So you can find it though if you. Okay, so we are.
So we did our biggest surprises.
I did our biggest. Surprise.
Who's your favorite Beatle?
I think it's George Harrison. Believe it or not.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of a hipster choice.
He's the quiet one, right? But he's also a musical genius.
I think he was the best instrumentalist of the band.
Best guitarist, yeah, absolutely. It was funny. That's why McCartney's like, okay, well, I guess I'm the bassist. Because, they met him. He and John were both guitar players. And then they met George Harrison, who was much younger than them by like 3 or 4 years. He was
Which
quite
is a
bit
big
younger.
deal when
Yeah.
you're 22.
Well, no, I think they were all in like our version of high school at the time.
Okay.
And Harrison, I think, might have been like below that. And Lennon and McCartney, they both wanted to play the guitar. They both had like the 6-string guitar. And then they met Harrison. They wanted to form a band. And somebody was like, hey, I've got this. I know this guy's really good on guitar. And they're like, oh, okay, well. McCartney's like, well, I'm a guitarist too. But let's see what he's got. And he starts playing, and he's like, okay, we need a bassist.
I'll be the bassist. Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's
Yeah.
what the interview that I saw was very recent. That was done with him. Somebody was asking about his guitar playing, and he was just like, "I'm really not much of a guitar player." I think I like put him in his place when he was young, just growing up with George Harrison.
The thing
you know?
is, though, he could play piano. You know, he can play pretty much any instrument. But he didn't-
George Harrison was able to go and pick up all these Indian instruments.
Yeah.
And stuff. He must have been
Yeah.
just like
Well, he could. I mean, one of his best friends was, oh God,
Ravi Shankar.
no,
Oh,
his wife,
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, one of his best friends was Eric Clapton, and they were both friends with Pete Townsend. I mean, all the real guitarists kind of all flocked together.
sure.
Another reason I like him is, did you know that he's the one that funded Monty Python's Search for the Holy Grail?
Really?
He mortgaged his house because he was a good friend with John Cleese, and he knew all the players in Monty Python, and they wanted to make this movie. And Harrison was like, "Hey, let me read it." And he had a house in Malibu at the time.
Okay.
He was living in Malibu. He read it. He's like, "I love it."
So when you say he mortgaged his house, he mortgaged one of his houses.
One of his houses.
It's a little bit less.
But
of a
he
leap
put
of
up
faith,
it was
but
like $1 million or something.
Oh, okay.
And so he got the cash together and he financed.
that's pretty cool.
So
It's a
if
good movie.
if it weren't for George Harrison, we wouldn't have.
Good movie. If you know
Search
anybody
for
that
the
does a
Holy Grail.
podcast where they sometimes watch movies and talk about them, you should recommend that they do Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Someday, maybe they
Someday.
will.
Oh, I'll
Maybe they will.
pass that along to any
Or maybe
friends
we'll
of mine
do
that
one of the more obscure ones,
do
like
such things. Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Meaning of Life or Life of Brian.
Life
maybe.
of Brian.
That'd
Yeah,
be fun.
Life of Brian is awfully funny in a couple
Yeah,
of places.
it really
It's
is.
pretty good. So,
How
are
about-
we?
Well, how about you? Who's your favorite? Did I
Oh,
ask you?
my favorite Beatles, Paul.
Paul.
But
Okay.
there's a case for actually all four of them.
Yeah, all four of them.
Because I think Ringo is the most fun. Like when you watch the movies and you just see them talk and stuff like that, and like he just kind of seemed to be having a good time.
Yeah,
He
it was-
still today
yeah.
seems like he's having a good time.
He has a neat
And that's
story.
kind of what I like about the Beatles
He has a
versus
neat
the Rolling
story.
Stones.
Yeah.
I think that's why life's hard enough. I don't need
Yeah.
to. I don't need to.
You don't need the
watch
sulking,
people look
brooding-
Yeah, I don't
the
need
brooding
that,
guys,
Like,
yeah.
it's just,
Well, they were goofballs. That's what everybody loved about them. Like,
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
Hard Day's Night when they do that, like the fast motion videos and they're all being goofy and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, it's fun.
They were
right?
talking about the optimism reflected in this album. Some of the things that I
Ye-
read, like,
yeah, that's a good
which is
point.
not something that would come across to me. I would have never said, "Oh, the '60s were a time of great optimism." Right? There's all these problems going on and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But there's also, and I think it's just a natural progression of how old the Boomers were. Just this surge of confidence and strength. When you get to be like an adult, and I think that's kind of reflected in this. Because what'd you
Yeah.
say? They're 25, 26
Yeah,
years old.
I think McCartney was 25.
And it's just a big generation. That must have been a big moment for them, I think, because of
Well,
that.
I mean, the Summer of
And
Love.
the Beatles would be the
that's what
ones
it
to
was.
represent the optimism.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the Stones.
No,
And it
gosh,
wouldn't
no.
be,
The Stones never really represented a movement. They were rockers, but they
Like
always,
I said, I think they're kind of the beginning of punk.
they always kind of
think go-
followed
going back, and then
they
The
always kind of
Who, and
followed
then
the
some-
Beatles,
Right.
in a way.
In a
They
lot
were-
of ways,
They're
But they're different. They're edgier, Although, you know what? I think a lot of things I'm thinking of were in the 70s.
yeah.
Like Jumpin' Jack Flash
Right.
kind of stuff. I think that's
Right.
mostly. When's Painted Black's a 60s
60s,
song.
yeah.
Yeah. They're a little dark.
A lot of it was dark. I mean, Mother's a Little Helper is a pretty dark song.
Sure. There's what's the one?
19th Nervous Break or 16th Nervous Breakdown? What is
Sympathy
it?
for the Devil,
Sympathy for the Devil.
stuff
right.
like that. There's a lot of.
Is it 19th Nervous Breakdown?
Here comes your 19. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
Nervous Breakdown.
Sounds right.
I mean, they have a lot of really kind of good songs, man. Really good songs, but a little bit dark.
Yeah. Yeah. I like them. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely. I just don't. They're not as iconic to me as the
Sure,
Beatles. The
sure.
Beatles are like the band. I associate
Right.
with my dad. I love them
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
on my own. They're just kind of important to me in a way.
And I think you're right. I think like it would be tough to do Day in the Life for your 5-year-old. But
Yes,
their
definitely.
catalog has
But I could play Rocky Raccoon
yes.
and half of the White Album.
Well,
for
that's
my
a good
kids.
point.
There's a whole, and I could play for the benefit of
Rocky
Mr. Kite.
Raccoon.
Play Lovely
Yeah,
Rita,
that's
Rita
true.
Maid.
Yeah.
I could play those songs for the kids, and they'd hear them, and they'd snap
Yeah.
along right away.
Yeah.
Just the same way.
But you
they
can
do.
sing a lot of the older, simpler stuff for them
Sure.
as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, even on those early albums, though, there's what is the song that starts out with a note of feedback? It's "I Feel Fine," I think, which is in a much earlier album. I can't remember which album, but it's the first time anybody ever did that.
Yeah,
used a
yeah.
note of feedback as
Yeah.
part of the album, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
How could that be the first time? And John Lennon himself was like, you might be able to find it on some blues album that I don't know about, But as far as I know, this is the first time anybody did that in a rock and roll song, and I think it's been established that that's correct.
Probably,
which is just a crazy, tiny little innovation.
Yeah.
You can't have anything we grew up listening to without feedback.
Yeah.
And just that one contribution to musical history. Yeah. It's that stuff that they're like genuinely coming up with new stuff. They're innovative, but also play it for a child, and the child likes it right away. That's what I like about it. It's just
not to pee on your point or poop on your point. Is it because they're at a time when nothing had been done before?
You mean children?
No, the Beatles.
Well, sure.
That's got to contribute
There's
a little
probably
bit,
a kid out there today who has the genius to come up with that as well and doesn't have the chance because he's later on. It's like we were saying about the early rap, Although, actually, my opinion of early rap, like 80s.
Like Blondie's
yes,
rap?
not that, but like the guys kind of sounded like that. It sounds crazy now for her to call that rapping, but when you listen to what what the other guys were doing at the time, like the Fat Boys and stuff, it's terrible. Nobody goes back and listens to that. It sounds like crap. It hit its stride, I think, about 89, 90, where it really started to take. Anyway. But and that was early on, so there was a lot of contributions you could make, and be recognized as a genius. Whereas I think by now, at a mature art form, it's kind of hard to be recognized for genius.
It is, unless you change it completely. And that's what artists do, right?
Yeah.
Picasso, I could be a master, or I could do something new.
So I doubt this is an original theory, but it's not one that I read from somebody else. I think you have to have a technological change to get a legitimate change in something like music.
Interesting.
I think that you don't get the impressionists if people didn't just invent photography. And suddenly somebody was like, well, we don't have to paint an accurate representation of the world. We're going to do something different. I think technology changes. And you need a genius. You need, who's the first guy? I think it's, I don't know, Manet, I think.
Manet,
I think, is the first one. But I think it's the same with music. You can't have a note of feedback if you're not using an electric guitar, obviously. So it's like you can't be the genius with that until that's been invented. And when something new is invented, it's a field for people to create new things. So geniuses can go play for a little while and make something new. It's hard when you just have all the same technology.
Standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah,
basically.
In a way. But also just the materials, the new things. The scientists bring you something and you're like, oh, electronic synthesizers.
Well, there's a...
And Moby couldn't have worked in 1920.
Well, Strawberry Fields, he uses a new technology. I can't remember what it was called, but if you listen to it, it has those kind of weird notes at the end. Fields? Yeah, it has like weird synthesizer sound notes.
Okay.
And it's a particular type of electrical instrument that John had just bought.
Okay.
And so he started playing around with it. Right, so it was brand new. You're right; it's a new technology.
The terminology so there's the Wikipedia article. Yeah, the music theory stuff they're talking about with this album is crazy. Completely over my head. I have no idea. They're talking about
I skipped a lot of that
the
stuff.
terms they use for it and stuff. They're like, and this song's in the Mixolydian mode, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Like these different tempos and like these shifts in tempos that they use.
You could say any of that stuff to me, and I'd just be like, well, you must be a genius because I don't understand it. So, but anyway,
just take your word for it. All right.
So I think we're at the time now.
We're at the time,
and I think we've given it away. I don't think we're going to surprise anybody.
Well, it's your call.
It's my call.
Let me
the way I've been talking about it, I think it sounds like I'm the one that chose the thing as a classic because I mean, the Beatles I grew up on them. There's
iconic.
No way.
Absolutely.
If we'd chosen one of their early albums that I don't like that much, maybe even Magical Mystery Tour, maybe I would have voted against it. Maybe, one of those. But this is a classic.
The whole point is to take something that everybody else calls a classic and say, okay, do we think it's a classic?
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, I don't think you can vote against this. I mean, one guy, did you read the quote where the guy said, "This album is the closest Western civilization has come to unity since the Congress of Vienna."
I saw that.
I mean, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would not toast that statement. But I think that just the fact that people are saying things like that about it, I cannot imagine an album in 2021 having this kind of impact.
No,
because we don't listen to albums for one thing.
Right.
It's not the way people consume music.
Yeah. Well, we could go on and on. I mean, I was thinking about just as bands, they don't evolve like this. People don't accept evolution like this. They want to hear the same stuff. I mean, Metallica's a great band, but you can't tell me that they've really evolved, so that they've changed. They started at point A, and now they're at point G.
There are some artists out there who've evolved in fairly recent memory. Now, I don't know about in the last 10 or 15 years.
I don't think on the scale of the Beatles. If you look at their...
Madonna went through a very similar progression. She went from like
but
very
she
corny
doesn't-
pop songs, and she got a lot more serious, and then she transitioned into like electronica and
Right.
dance and stuff. As
But
she
she just
kept
doesn't.
going,
I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is people
but
that
that's
are
30 years ago.
people
now.
that are considered, on the same plateau that the Beatles are. So
I'd say Madonna's on this. Don't you think? You don't think Madonna's on the? Michael Jackson went through an evolution. Nobody knew he was a pedophile, and then everybody knew. No, I don't know.
Compared Madonna to the Beatles. Said they're on the
I think
same.
that's fair. I don't know about saying that,
Wow.
but in terms of the cultural impact, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair statement.
No.
Madonna was.
We will agree to
whatever.
disagree on that one. All right. So what's your answer?
My answer is that we're definitely toasting this
All
classic.
right, well-
in as much as it is up to me, we are toasting this classic.
Next time I'll bring more Brandy
Yeah,
Alexander.
that's a good idea.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. And thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Toasting the Classics.
Next episode, we're going to be talking about Madonna constantly,
Yeah. Okay.
but and singing it too.
Okay, Alex, go to your room.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. Wait, what are we doing next time?
Oh, right. Yeah. Next time, we're going to be talking about the
Fahrenheit.
Ray Bradbury's
Yeah,
dystopian classic, Fahrenheit 451.
Very good. All right.
And I will let you know what we're drinking in the outro.
Very cool. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for episode 23 of Toasting the Classics. For those playing along at home, you'll need amaretto, beer, and some overly proofed flammable beverage for next week. You'll also need fire because we're drinking flaming Dr. Pepper while talking about the 1953 dystopian novel Fahrenheit 451. If you'd like to get in touch, please send us an email at toastingtheclassics@gmail.com. Send us show ideas, comments, complaints, and let us know your favorite Beatle. Check out my blog at theattractivenuisance.com and follow us on Twitter at @ractivenuisance. Our music was written by Michelle McArthur. See you next time on Toasting the Classics.